I wouldn't call myself an artist, really, just an avid doodler. In the margins of all my school notes, you'd find a plethora of stickmen doing all sorts of things, from fishing to fighting to dancing and so on. And when I'm at a restaurant, I get one of those kids' placemats and a set of crayons just to draw cats and dogs and fish. I don't care how childish it looks, as long as it keeps me entertained. Another thing I doodles a lot is eyes. Lots of eyes, all sorts of eyes, from cartoonish to realistic. Big ones, small ones, wide ones, happy ones, just all types of eyes. So it wasn't unusual when one day, out of complete boredom, I drew an eye on the wall of my desk with the charred end of a matchstick. I did pretty well on it too, for being such an amateur. The shading and lighting was just right, making it look so real. It wasn't a left or right eye. No, it looked like one a Cyclops would have. I was proud of it. So proud, in fact, I showed it off to my roommates and all of our friends. Arrogant, I know, but if you don't brag to your friends, who else can you brag to? They all humored me, agreeing it was indeed a nice eye, very real looking. So real looking that my friend Justin asked, "It's awesome and all, but did you really have to make it look so sad?" I was a little confused by this statement, as I remember making the eye pretty monotone in emotion. "What do you mean?" "Well, it looks like it's crying." I looked at the picture again. I stared at the eye, which was kind of eerie, as it looked like it was staring back at me. I shrugged. "Doesn't look like it's crying to me." Justin looked at it again, scrutinizing, before saying, "Huh, guess I just looked at it from an odd angle." And that was that. For a while, anyway. Days went by. At first I was hyper aware of the eye, a little creeped out as it watched me work at my desk. After a while, though, I got used to it, even forgot it was there. The only times I really noticed it was late at night when I was tired and would look over to see this random eye staring at me. It would startle me, but I'd soon laugh it off, blaming a too exhausted mind for the trouble. One particular night of studying, cramming for my college exams, I had stayed up well into the morning. When I finally closed my textbook and went to go pass out on my bed, I saw something looking at me from the corner of my eye. I started, almost falling out of my chair, but caught myself easily enough. When I looked back at the sketchy ash, it made me pause before I started laughing like so many other nights. "Here's looking at you," I jested with the image, the pun not lost on me. I went to turn off my desk light, but my hand hesitated on the switch. My gaze was still held on the eye, kept there by a curiosity I couldn't readily understand. I stood still for a long time, having a stare down with a two-dimensional picture made of ash that only through luck hadn't been wiped off yet. After so many moments of nothing, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. I moved again to turn off the light. Only a second before I hit that switch, the eye blinked. Stunned, I kept staring forward, the negative of that ashen image floating on the back of my retina. With a heavy breath, I flipped the light back on, determined to verify what I just saw. The eye looked back at me, unmoving, the same as the day I drew it. I chuckled nervously to myself. Of course it hadn't moved. It was only a drawing, a bit of boredom made on a makeshift canvas. Once convinced the blinking was due to too much caffeine and not enough sleep, I turned the light off again and went to bed. That night I dreamed of floating, glowing orbs. One of the spheres was leaking, water dripping down its lower part and falling to the ground. From the sky someone was whimpering, asking for something. The orbs followed me around throughout the dream, begging. The one with the leak stayed stationary, though, and whenever I got close to it, the noises changed from whimpering to full-on sobbing. When I woke the next morning, I felt a horrid sense of dread, and that I was being watched. That feeling didn't go away, either. Whether I was at school, hanging out with friends, or at home, I always felt someone's eyes on me. Even in public, it felt like everyone's eyes were on me, so after a while, I just started staying at my house all the time. I stopped doodling eyes at that time too, just as they would add to the uneasy sensation. It was at its worst when I sat at my desk trying to study, but I couldn't, not with that eye staring at me. Finally I smudged it up, smearing the ash to and fro until it was no longer recognizable. The staring edge kind of petered off after that, and I was able to finish my homework with a renewed sense of ease. The sense of being watched quieted considerably after that. Now feeling more secure, I left my house more freely to spend time with friends. One night, while hanging at the pizza parlor among the jovial misbehavior, I noticed something on the wall near where I sat. A little piece of graffiti that I was surprised I even saw at all, but in between lewd stories my eyes landed on it. An eye. An eye that looked exactly like the one I had drawn on my desk. And it was staring at me. I stared at it for what seemed like forever. One of my friends, Josh, elbowed me in the side to get my attention. "What's up?" he asked. I looked at him, my eyes still wide. "Do you see that?" I asked, pointing at the piece of vandalism. He followed my finger to where I was pointing, staring at the bit of wall for what felt like eternity before saying, "Do I see what?" I turned back to the eye to find nothing staring back at me. Maybe I just imagined it? Never mind. The moment I got home that night, I made sure the eye at my desk was still smudged away. When I saw it was, I went to bed, pushing all thoughts of eyes out of my mind. I dreamed about the orbs again that night. Nothing happened for the next few days, until one day in class, the teacher handed back everyone's most recent paper. Well, he handed everyone else theirs, all except mine. The teacher called me behind after class. After everyone left, he told me it was about the assignment. He said, "Now I know you doodle on some of your papers, and normally I don't mind because it doesn't get in the way of my grading. But this time, well, I just can't accept this." I was confused. True, I drew on some of my tests and things, but always in the margins. And I hadn't really drawn anything recently ever since the orb dream started. Seeing my puzzled look, he held up my paper, aghast, taken aback by the image before me. I saw the words for the assignment all in my handwriting, but on top of it all, were dozens of eyes. Seeing as my professor could tell I had done the work under all those sketches, he gave me a night to rewrite it all so he could properly grade it. So once I got home, I sat down at my desk, ready to redo the entire thing. As it was only 2 pages, it wasn't long at all until I finished it. The moment it was done, I stuffed it into my book bag, making sure there was absolutely no doodles on it. Relieved at the end of my task, I decided to call it early for the night. When I was about to turn off the light, I noticed something that made me stop dead in my tracks. The eye was staring back at me. The same eye that had smudged it over so many days ago. It was back, darker than before. Though you could see the smears underneath it, it looked like someone had just drawn over it. It looked sadder than before, like it was about to cry, similar to how my friend had described it back when I first drew it. That wasn't all that was different, though. It was blinking now, just like a real eye. In a panicked flurry, I ran to the hall closet to get some cleaning supplies. I fiercely wiped away all traces of ash and everywhere else on my desk for that matter until it gleamed with cleanliness. Satisfied the eye was completely done away with, I went to bed. I didn't sleep most of that night. I couldn't stop picturing eyes all over my room, illuminated by the moonlight outside, watching me. It was only when I drew the curtains closed and covered my entire room in dark was I assured the eyes couldn't see me. When I finally went to sleep, bathed in complete darkness, I was free from anyone watching me, from eyes to orbs, anything. I was reluctant to wake up to the sunlight coming through my curtains. At the edges of my side, I could see the eyes staring at me. As I went through my morning routines, I saw them everywhere. They were in the tiles of the shower, the reflection of the mirror, the cereal in my bowl. When I got to school and opened my notebook, every page was full of eyes staring back at me. Even the paper I'd rewritten last night was staring at me. I didn't attend classes that day. As I drove back from the campus, the stop signs glared at me, the taillights of the car in front of me winked, and every person's head was turned toward me. Everything was watching me. Once home, I made a beeline for my desk, though it filled me with dread to do so. I wasn't that surprised to find the eye, following my movements as I sat down in front of it. It looked sadder this time, the tears rolling down its non-existent face. I didn't even bother cleaning it off this time. It would just come back after all, wouldn't it? I was only startled when the other eyes started opening around it and all over the rooms. They all looked at me, watching, waiting. Desperate to get away from their stares, I ran into my room. I quickly covered the windows with the thickest of blankets so no light, whether it be from the moon or sun, could get in. I locked the door, pushed the dresser in front of it to keep it closed. The eyes were still watching me, though. In a frenzy, I broke the lamp and overhead light, pitching the room in utter darkness. "Now you can't see me!" I screamed into the darkness. "Now you'll never see me again." And they didn't, as I sat in the corner of my room, hugging myself, staying in the dark.